Hey, Ty. It bounces? All right. I wonder if there's something more stable. Bunch of boxes. Oh, that'd be even worse. I'm trying to get a higher angle. Down here, we were looking right here. You just need a little bit more of a stable riser, like a bunch of books, for instance. And then I was trying to find well, I mean, I do sales meetings off that screen all the time, and I've never seen it that bouncy ever. So I think that box, which is basically empty, is acting as a springboard. Yep.
But if we put this down and then we just build up what's there, it's not going to migrate to the stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still going to be real low unless we double down, triple down on boxes.
Yeah. No, we'll go higher with boxes. Higher with boxes.
Yeah, that's perfect. As long as it doesn't fall. Oh, hold on. You got to get to the here. Whoops. Ugh. Do you want to be identified as in the room or what? Okay. Yep. Oh yeah, everywhere. One there, one there. No, Beauty 2466, capital B. This will be available to view after. It says recording. Yep.
And then that way, you'll be able to see when somebody raises their hand.
Then when he comes on, it'll probably give me an option there to bring him in.
It's usually
Split screen?
down here.
Okay. Split screen. Okay.
Yeah, so right now, it's you.
Okay.
Live on Facebook, huh? That's an option.
Should probably do it.
I just don't know if it would shoot to.
My personal or Sullivan Beauty. Yes.
Do you want to sell a video or stylist group?
Probably stylist group.
So, share. Next. Very live streaming preview. I spoke with Doug.
Good.
Aloha.
Aloha. How you doing?
I'm good. Am I on the group link or am I on the? Looks good to me.
Yeah. All right. Ty Doug's on.
Hey, Doug.
Hi, guys.
Stuff over here.
I got you on my headphones, Doug, so Tyler doesn't hear you, but we tested it out, and my mic is a lot better on the headphones than in our empty learning center here at the office.
Oh, I believe that.
Yeah. And then we were actually just looking at a really cool feature that we're tinkering with right now, in which we can live stream into our professional stylist only Facebook group in tandem. Okay, so there's Doug, and it says it's preparing the live, so I'll keep my eyes peeled on that if you want to. Yeah. It's got a nice picture of Mr. C.B. Sullivan here. I thought that would be a good backdrop.
Makes me very happy.
The only way I could get him on the screen was the last still from a YouTube video that we did.
Ah,
How are you?
I'm wonderful, my friend, and I'm very honored to be doing this with you.
Well, we're honored to have you here.
It's great. I've been hearing from salons really all over the world, but particular North American continent, and asking questions and sharing. And I've got a load of material to share, and we'll make it, bounce it back and forth, so it'll be a lot of fun. We'll tell a few jokes, and we'll just have a great time.
That sounds fantastic. We will let people kind of hop in here, give them a few minutes to hop in. But in the meantime, I wanted to show you our learning center. Did you know that we moved recently?
No, and Sharon just asked me where the office was, and I went, I don't know.
Well, we shifted over from a rent to a mortgage in July of last year, and then we broke ground immediately, and we are now as of September, end of September, we're in our own new building. It's not even a mile from the original headquarters that you know and love, and we've got an abundance of space.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, we were able to take every idea we had about the learning center and what that should look like, and the store and what that should look like. And we tripled our warehouse space, which ultimately 90% of our business is shipping. So that was a major driver. And then we finally have a nice abundance of office space, whereas at the old place, we were jammed in and we were renting. So
Yes, yes.
yeah, so this is where you, my friend, are going to be presenting when we have you come in
Oh, I love
person,
it.
whenever that day is that we can do in-person education again.
Oh, I love it. It looks
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, yeah, it's all new. It was a completely unfinished warehouse space when we found it. So we really got to just start from scratch in a lot of ways.
Oh, that's great. Well, it's
Yeah.
a wonderful thing, and education is the key.
Absolutely, it is, and it's definitely been a lot of fun to do education here. And we had a nice learning center at the old place, and we did a good amount of education. But that learning center was 600 square feet. Didn't have, a nice stage wall. This room is 1,700 square feet. We've got a kitchen in the back area, and we've got a prep area behind the stage wall with two functioning stations back there.
Oh, wow.
So this is like a purpose-built stage room. And
Well, I can't wait to see it. Huh.
yeah, Jenny Garby says, "Hey guys, I see what's going on. Doug, it's good to see you." A big fan of
Aloha.
yours.
Good. This is wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, and we've got some others hopping on right now. I know we got some good feedback about how people are excited to see you again. A lot of people that remember you from back at TB Sullivan Company, and probably multiple times since then. So we'll let them pop on. And also, I wanted to show you something I made for you last night in preparation. I thought this might be a little fun for you. Ta-da!
Look at this. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I got a chance to listen to your intercoiffure. That was fantastic.
Well, we'll do a bit of that, and only because, Kerry, when the president of Intercoiffure, Sheila, who I've known for so many years, got on with me after that was over, and she said, OMG. She said, I'm thinking you're doing this for me, for other people. And when it was over, she went, this was for me, directly for me. So when we kick off today, as we go along, we'll do the personal side of it. That's kind of what that was. And then I have a marvelous little business thing that we can share, as long as whatever you want to do. And so I'm excited and prepared.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Shelly Devlin says hi. I'm going to make sure to mention everybody who says hi to you along the way.
Good. I love it.
And Let's see what we got for a time check. 3:03. Maybe we'll give them a couple more minutes. So
I'm
you
good.
are in. You still in Vegas? Where are you?
Yeah, yes. In the
Yes.
office in McDonald Ranch, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Ooh, that sounds nice.
It is nice.
Yeah, the ranch.
It's a wonderful place, and we're happy here, and we got lots of critters. And
I see one critter behind you.
yeah, that's right.
Your
That's
owl there.
the owls. Yeah, that baby's ready to go.
And what's the gold trophy up there behind you as well?
Well, I can't see exactly what it is, but I got an award for producing a video, which was made into a movie for hairdressers, and it was very successful. It didn't happen to be for any specific manufacturer, but I did it because I love hairdressers, and it won an award.
Well, I mean, hey, you've been making videos since your CB Sullivan company days. Remember Take Home the Magic?
Oh, we did so good with all that stuff.
That was a blast. That was a
It was
lot of
great.
fun.
And
Yep.
it was wonderful, wonderful fun.
Yeah. We still have that too. We still have that. I'll make sure to send you a copy of it. I think we have it digitally, so I'll send you a link to it. But man, those were the times.
Yep. We just did so good, and the intent was so great. I want to share a little bit about that, why I think I was invited to CB when the time comes, and you kick it off, of course. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Lauren Sullivan says, hello, everyone. Miss you, Doug, and love you.
I love you too, and I miss you, Lauren. It's great. I got a
Yeah.
note from your mom today, you guys. That was very sweet.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, she definitely enjoys seeing our experience, and in a lot of ways it reminds her a lot of hers and my dad's experience. Not a lot of people understand how involved my mom was in the CB
Yeah.
Sullivan company, and how much of a co-owner she really was, and how much she contributed.
Yeah.
You know, knowing that about her, she's definitely relishing in every little step of her children's trajectory.
Yeah. Oh, it's just wonderful. And she's always been every moment of her life so beautiful. And I love walking in that garden with her, you know, seeing her stuff. Oh my gosh, it was great.
Yeah. Shelly says, I'll never forget the hug story of your daughter, the different kind of hugs. Boy, what I wouldn't give to hug my clients right now. Love your mom.
Oh, that's nice. And that day will come, you know, we
Yes.
do it right. So
Yeah, and you know what? Let's kick it off on that note. We talked, guys, about whether or not we should postpone in light of New Hampshire alone being allowed to get back to work this Monday, and then of course Maine getting back to work. What was it, a week ago Friday now? But we wanted to give you something that not only you could view live, but also you could view after the fact as we're recording, something to make you feel right about getting back. We know we're not out of the woods yet, and so we want to just kind of give you some love and hope in these stressful times, and hopefully just what you need to get back to work and how to get back to work. So with that, on that note, maybe we could start with kind of the history of Doug Cox and CB Sullivan Company and CB Sullivan as a person.
oh, buddy, that's a week and a half topic right there. I
Yeah.
can tell you this, CB always ran his company so wonderfully. And you know it was your company, but when I speak about CB, I always speak about his company and how wonderfully well he ran it. And one of the things that CB did that you young lions are doing now so wisely is you don't stop and say, oh, we got it going on. You know, you go, what can I learn? What can I do? How can I grow? And CB, I know, looked around at many people, many wonderful friends of yours and mine, including JP and the others. And I was in the short list. And when he said, I want you to start coming out to my company, we had met at a seminar in Las Vegas, and we were walking down the hall, and he grabbed a hold of my shoulder and he said, you don't know me, do you? And I said, oh yes, Mr. C.B. Sullivan, I know you very well. He said, well, we never got to work together. You know, you work with a product line that we didn't have. And I said, Mister, the secret and joy of the beauty industry is to look around at opportunities that you haven't done. And that was how CB asked me if I would come and do sales meetings. And slowly but surely that became an overall plan of doing things. And I became a regular. And one of the great joys of my life was knowing and doing things with the great CB Sullivan and his family.
Yeah, it turned into a residency, didn't it, for you
Yes,
here
it
in
did.
New Hampshire?
Absolutely, it did. And you know, when we started talking about doing this, I have a memory, if I may share, because it plays a part in our webinar today. And that is, you young gentleman who I have admired since the very first day said, well, we're going to come over to the townhouse, I think you used to call it.
Yes, yeah.
CB's townhouse. And he said, you're staying there right now. So is there any chance, you know, we could bum a meal? And I said, well, absolutely. What do you want? They said, well, the door's open. Well, I love that. So I got so excited because there's this dish that I cook, which is kind of the theme of our program, Cooking Up a Fantastic Future. And although I'm not going to do the whole recipe for you until later, because your customers are going to want it surely, I said I'm going to make some Hooksett chicken wings and rice for these guys with a wonderful bottle of Zinfandel. And what I wanted was what the Sullivan Company has always done and what your greatest salons do, and that is awaken every sense in the client and the guest. And I loved you guys so much. I wanted you to come through the door and I wanted you to go, whoa, what is that? It smells so good. And that was the 3 hours it took to cook up this recipe. And we're going to use that recipe for our headline tonight. But Kerry and Tyler and Lauren, I love you so much. I want you to see this. This is the cork from the bottle of Zinfandel that we served that night. And that, Kerry, is a very big part of how we succeed in our business. It is the little things that we remember that keep us moving along and saying, hey, this is really well worth doing. And I couldn't wait to show you that today. Is that cool?
You just sent a chill down my body. That is amazing. I did not know that you still had that. That's definitely a memento of some of the best times ever, isn't it?
Well, you know, what was so wonderful is, as your dad's friend and a consultant and a guy that was working with the company, I think people always thought that, you know, I did all the teaching or your dad did all the leading. I don't think any of them ever knew how great you and your brother and your sister were in that marvelous youthful way of helping us not just stay on the track, but going, but wait, couldn't we do this? Because we come from another generation and you've helped to raise us up. And it's just incredible. So I loved it. And I'm still so honored to be a part of it. And your wonderful clients that are tuned in watching today. And those of you that are tuning in later to take a look at this video, I want you to know that I love you. And I already got notes from your customers and clients who said, oh, Uncle Doug, I won't be able to be there today because I'm working. And I said, well, thank heavens you are. And this will be recorded,
Exactly.
I'm sure you'll be able to get it. So,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're able to be working with your clients right now, that's fantastic. And for those of you who either are in between clients or prepping to get back to it, we thought that this would be very important to have at this specific time. You know, whether you're able to see it now or see it later. Tyler says, wow, Ravenswood Zinfandel marks those memories for us every time I taste it. Great wine with great memories.
isn't that good? And you know, it was one of the rewards that wasn't shampoo. It wasn't a paycheck. this was very personal between your dad and you guys and your family and myself. And it was so, I really thought about that. Of course, I love to make it, but I thought to myself, how did it come about that in the end, every time we made it, it turned out perfectly? And the answer was, there's a formula. We call it a recipe, but there's a formula for that. And the way I looked at it was, we all have needs, we all have desires, and the people watching and people truly all over the world that I hear from are simply sick and tired of being on the sidelines. They're hungry for some action. And when I think of that, I think, well, that's where all of success begins. It's in a feeling. It's a feeling that says, you know, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm having some of my best buds coming over and I'm hungry. So what do I do when I get hungry? Well, I have to sort of make a plan. The question is, what do I want? Well, your clients that are listening, sharing with us right now, know, because of their clientele, how important it is that we realize that we're hungry because it tastes good. And there's going to be a sip of red wine for those of your clients that have a sip with us. But there is also a need for nourishment when you're making a recipe. And it turns out that what we made in this hook-set chicken and rice is protein. It has a vegetable. It has all of the excitement and everything that we hope and that we need. And like every great hairdresser knows, you got to plan that. I loved seeing all the not so funny videos during this time where people at home were trying to cut their own hair. People that laughed at one time. So what, she just works in a salon or something like that. I don't know what, had no idea that almost 50 years ago, I fell in love with this business. I've never been a hairdresser. I'm a cowboy and I'm a surfer boy. And I fell in love with them and what they do and how they change and shape lives. It's just so exciting and wonderful. And that's got to be part of the plan. Solid footsteps in a shaky world. And that has to do with planning the meal. For our wonderful meal we had that night, I put a dozen chicken wings in on top of rice on the bottom. It's real simple. I mean, this is something you can dive in and order, you know, from Sullivan Beauty. You'll be fine. You don't even need to go to a store. It's the same thing. And we put that rice in the bottom of that wonderful big pan. I got a picture of it to show you later. And then you put in the other ingredients. In our case, we added mushroom soup. And that was nice. It was easier than cooking mushroom soup. You could buy it in a can. One of the joys of being a salon owner is ordering the right gear and the right stuff. So we did that. And you put in the water that goes with it, and you put in that on the top. And the final thing we added to this was incredible spices that gave it the fragrance. And I remember the first time that your friend and mine, Billy Pepolo, and I went out to call on salons, and I was coming from the radio business. And we walked into a beauty salon, and Pepe said to me, "Doug, what do you think?" And I said, "What is that smell?" And Pepe said, "Mr. Cox, that's the smell of money." And what he was talking about was my first whiff of a perm. So it's been the most wonderful life going along, finding out what the recipe is. And then I wanted to ask you, I don't mean to put you on the spot without having notes, but I was going to ask you, what's cooking at Sullivan Beauty right now? What are the 2 or 3 things that you say, "Oh, Uncle Doug, talk to me"?
Yeah, well, the building, I got to tell you a little bit about this new home of ours and the purpose that went into the build out and the ability to start from scratch in so many areas. So this building, I'll tell you, Doug, I've been quarantined for the safety of my family, my children, and working diligently of all hours of the day and night, but from home. So I'm here in the Learning Center, which I thought would be a fitting place to reconnect with Mr. Doug Cox. And walking into this building, it reminds me of the fact that we found our home for the next 20, 30, 40 years. However long we can stay within this building without growing it, we found our home, and it feels absolutely fantastic to walk back in this door, walk through our store, and see Amy, who you remember from the CB Sullivan Company store in Hooksett. She now runs our store here in Hooksett. And to see, you know, a nice sanitary, safe space with her with her mask on, and the guys picking orders, and the customer service up front, and to come up to my learning center where I get to spread out and enjoy speaking as loudly as I want to. And so first and foremost, our new home is definitely one of the most special things going on in our world right now, if you ask me. I guess if I were to pick out a second one, you talked about our contributions at CB Sullivan Company. And, you know, it's like if we are cooks, right, sticking with the theme, the only ingredients we knew and the only recipes we knew were what the beauty industry did and what CB Sullivan Company did. And we would have fun. We'd throw in some, you know, maybe some counterintuitive ingredients and see if we could maybe tweak the taste or make it a little bit better this way or that way. And so, you know, I remember my brother came up with a program called the end cap program, where the concept was in our store, if you put something on an end cap, it sells 400% more than if you put it in its regular spot on the shelf. And he rolled out this beautiful end cap program where salons would basically just be able to buy into a promotional arrangement. We would give them a shelf as long as they committed to restocking with the new promos every 2 months. And that ended up being a very successful program. A lot of people really enjoyed, made money off of, and we even talked about bringing it back today. So we were having fun then. We definitely had some fun with the creative license that we were given with this whole quarantine, and how to create a Sullivan stimulus program, how to support our salons and keep a revenue channel. And we tried a bunch of experimental ideas after, I'm telling you, hours and hour-long conversations on the phone, my brother, my sister, and I. Fun conversations that went by in felt like 15 minutes, because we were so, our creative juices were flowing, and we were so excited. And we really landed on, you know, 3 major things, which was, we don't care if the manufacturer is going to support it or not. If you email our customer care department that you want to participate in your gift certificate program, we'll give you a free product to give to your clients for every $100 or more gift certificate that they buy from you. And we were very refreshed to find, not even within 24 hours, multiple manufacturers reaching out directly to us and saying, we're in. We didn't even ask. They just said, we're in. So that was kind of step 1 of the Sullivan stimulus program. Step 2 was, how do we allow people to sell stuff in between homeschooling at home? So we set up our direct ship program and tweaked our website. So if you want an order, instead of to go to you, to go to your client, we'll ship it to your client. We'll get it there. We'll charge you. All you have to do is figure out how to charge your client. And oh, by the way, we'll give you a 20% off because we have a stimulus code going, and we'll cover shipping. So it was successful in the sense that it provided a lot of revenue to a lot of our guests. It was not a money maker for us because it wasn't, you know, wildly profitable, but it kept the revenue stream for us. It kept the revenue stream for them. And they did about 800 orders over the past 6 weeks with that direct ship program. And they generated $50,000 of retail sales for them. So that was, you know, step number 2 of the Sullivan stimulus. And step number 3 was just a blanket 20% off everything. Doesn't matter what it is, 20% off until we get out of the woods, which was, you know, the 3rd part of our commitment. And so the second big thing for us right now is the Sullivan stimulus program and the response from our customers, which we didn't do it for the response. We did it so that they could, have an easier go at this. But the appreciation outpour has been nothing but amazing.
Well, congratulations, Annie. You've earned it. And once again, it's that intuitive, you said. And that was one thing that was left with us by your dad. I mean, he would say, well, why don't we? Wouldn't it be? What if? I
Yeah.
remember being up at the lake and on a rainy afternoon, and I had been actually down at the store most of the day. It was a Sunday. And I came back and it was real quiet at the lake house. And I heard somebody open a door in one of the motorhomes there, and it was Robbie Knievel. And Robbie looked out the door and said, Doug. I went, Robbie, what are you doing? He said, I'm just hanging out, man. Can you come on in? Because he and I spent time, but we never got to be together. So I walked in the door and he said, have you ever heard of Jack Daniels? And I said, actually, yes, I did. He poured up a glass of Jack Daniels. We started talking about him and his relationship with his dad and his mom and his life and all that stuff. And what I remember about that was a part of the intuitive side of the Sullivan Company. Robbie never worked there, but he was a contributor. And he was a contributor to me because I said, where is everybody? Jeff and all those guys are all gone. He said, well, they took the bikes and went out. I said, well, how come you didn't go? He said, it's raining. They're stupid. So when we do business in our salon and our finances and things we're going to talk about, it's important to listen to Robbie and go, is there a smart way to do this? And that's always been the Sullivan way. So I thought that was fantastic. Well, I love your 3 tenets. I'm excited about seeing and hearing about that. And so in our recipe, first we said, I'm hungry. The second one, we said, well, what do I want? The third one, well, what's in the closet? What have we got? What's on my list? And we talked about that. And you have, of course, an incredible array of products, and they are available. We'll talk about more in the future here to your clients and customers so wonderfully. So the question then is, what do we need? The next thing we're going to need as we talk about this is the word patience. Our hook set chicken and rice is a 3-hour deal at $3.50. So you say, well, could we take it out a little early? Well, yeah, but that's not what it's about. It's about smelling that and having that aroma wrap itself around you. And you have a sip of red wine and you say, this is going to be good. And it just gets better. And we, who are your clients and friends, and I'm a kind of like a family member, Uncle Doug, we sit and look at each other and say, isn't there something that we could do? And the answer is, you bet. We could be patient. Things aren't going to go back the way they were right now. We can shape them back even better, but it's very important to notice that the $1 million salons that have called your Uncle Doug and said, okay, pal, what do we do now? My answer was, we've been put in a position where those things we thought about and perhaps should have done but didn't do, the door suddenly comes open to make changes of things you always thought. So the question to ask as an owner, as an employee, which I've always been a team member myself, the question you ask yourself is, what could I do better? And how do I need to make a change when I step back into that environment? Can it be better when I get there? Can I make it better when I arrive? But those are such positive and powerful thoughts. It really makes a big, big difference. And of course, in the end, as you and I know, Kerry, the reward is a fabulous meal and a chance to chat and smile and laugh and be with people that we truly, truly love. And that's what our industry provides. And it's Sullivan beauty all over it, man. We love the people we work with. We love to share. And well, I'm excited. So my joy, of course, was having you guys taste it. And I got to peek out the corner of my eye at you taking a bite of those hook-set chicken wings and rice. And I saw you smile and I went, we did it.
Yeah,
And every professional stylist knows that moment when they look in the mirror and the face of the client brightens up. And the opportunity for that today, if anything, is greater than ever. And when I think of, Go ahead, please. I didn't
And
mean
I
to interrupt.
think, just, you said, that moment when we're having that chicken and we're all enjoying each other's presence. I think right now when we get back to the salon, we really need to be present in the moment. I think the distractions, especially for the owners out there, are going to be absolutely plentiful while they're doing hair. And I think it's probably going to be a challenge, but maybe more important than ever, to be present with the client and to be attentive and to be interested by being, or to be interesting by being interested. Because I imagine that there's going to be a lot going on at the salons, especially the first couple weeks working the kinks out. And, those clients are ultimately what's keeping the lights on, right? So I guess that's going to be part of the trick getting back, is just channeling that moment when you're having that favorite meal and you're enjoying the moment while you're with your client.
Very well said, and very wise. Kerry, I think it would be wonderful if we start right here. We've kind of got the recipe laid out, but I would love to think along with your clients and friends and business associates, which they are. I like to think along with them about the fact that I know many of the faces, the people you just mentioned, I go, yep, 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 yep. And I love your location in America. It's a part of history. As you know, it's a great joy for me. And I love the restaurants and the salons and all of that. But what I was thinking was, let's take a look at what happened with us, to us, and for us during the time that our doors have been closed. And perhaps we've been at home, which is what Sharon and I have been doing. We have self-quarantined. We've been in our little house out here in the desert through all kinds of weather and whatever, and we loved it. But I thought when people started calling me and saying, oh, Doug, oh, Mr. Cox, let me tell you what happened I need help with. There were 4 things that came up. The first one, and I asked one of my wonderful, truly a huge salon up in New Jersey, what should I focus on? And I said, well, you tell me, how did you change physically during the time that you were locked in that house? How did you change? Well, she said, well, I think I put on about 20 pounds. I said, okay, but that's important to say, here's one of the things that happened physically. And I'm saying now we have the opportunity to either celebrate that thing, or we can say, I need to change that thing as I step out in front of my clients, as I work 12 hours a day to get back to those faces I miss. So physically, we need to say, what did I do? What did I do during the quarantine? How did I change my diet, my drinking, my laughter, my whatever? And then bring that when you go to the salon, because that is who you are really. And Kerry Sullivan says to be present. Well, physical is a part of our presence. I had clients who called salons that I've known for the last 30 years who said, oh, I discovered I had a health problem during this. It wasn't the virus, but I had a health problem, and we dealt with that. Well, for your wonderful clients and friends and family, we need to get back and get our physical done. Exercise one more step a day. I've always said if you started one step a day, within 10 years, you're going to look foxy, because we improve our health in little ways day by day. Not all of us have been able to get out. Gymnasiums out here are closed, still closed up. Our salons finally opened up. It's one of the scariest things that ever happened. Oh, we'll talk about that. The second thing I wanted to mention was, while we were in this situation, Sharon and I did, and most of the salons that I know had a little personal, come to Kerry meeting about finances. Because some of us didn't end up with the same amount of money we had when it all began. And so we have to start over. We'll talk about how we do that specifically, but I'm talking about the personal part of it and how important it is for us to say, I'm okay. I'm all right. We're doing okay. The things we did up until this moment have allowed us to be safe Can we do better? Absolutely. But your kids, Kerry, as you know, in our family, and those older than we are, we need to be financially confident. I didn't say rich. I said financially confident in front of others, because those like your clients who can work with their hands, who have a gift and an art and a skill, can always rebuild. And depending on what we share today, what we learn from you, we can do it much faster than we ever thought. So physically, what happened while you were locked up? Financially, how did you do? We're going to talk about the future in a moment. The third one, and for me, Kerry, stop me if I'm talking too much. The third one for me is the word emotional. So physical, financial, emotional. And here's the most important one. I talk to so many owners, huge salons, individuals in Texas that work in their own space, their own salon space. They have nothing more than a chair that they rent, whatever it happens to be. The answer is those people, many of them, were on the phone in tears. And often it was not just for and about them that they cried. It was for others, for people whose jobs will go away and may never return. Our profession has the gift and the ability to rise up out of the ashes like the phoenix. And that's one of the joys that keeps us smiling. So I think it's important for and I mentioned this at Intercoiffure when Sheila called me and said, oh man, you hit the jackpot, was it's all right to cry. I try not to cry in front of my clients. I think that's not cool because they think, oh no, what did you do to my hair? But the fact is, we need to be able to feel truly, legitimately those deep and rich emotions. Because, Kerry, you won't believe this being said by an old rodeo cowboy, but we don't style hair, we style feelings. And our clients who walk in the door have that same hurt and pain. And their uncle is now out of work and too old to be rehired. And we need to begin thinking and building, breathe deeply, and say, I want to be a part of helping my clients. I can't loan them money. I don't have enough money myself. But what I can do is help them build their financial being and their emotional being. When it comes back, we can hold a hand, we can hug, but a hairdresser is the one human being, other than a firefighter who shows up when your house is on fire. A hairdresser can, honest to goodness, hug you virtually by virtue of their nature, their gift, their power. And as Doug Cox always said, a shampoo is not a shampoo, it's a healing when it's done right. So physically, financially, emotionally, and the fourth of those is the word spiritual. And that, Kerry, as you and I and your brother and your sis have talked about, your dad and I talked about it forever, particularly toward the end of his wonderful life that changed and shaped all of us. We just agreed the fact that spiritual things are things that you can't take a picture of. So you say, well, how do you, my son called me Christopher, who said his love to you. And he's doing great as a hairdresser, by the way. Thanks
And
to
our
you.
love.
Yeah, you got it. Well, the spiritual side of it was Christopher said to me, you know, when you talk about writing dreams, goals, all that, he said, I get all that. But when you get down to spiritual, he said, the screen gets a little fuzzy for me. And I said, well, I do understand that, but think of it as anything of which we cannot take a picture. So I love you, Kerry, but you can't see that. You know, if I'm there now and looking at your wonderful new space, I still can't give you a hug, but I'm there. So the spiritual side of thing on the personal side for us is if you and your family have a faith you've developed over the years, whatever that is, don't fall back on that. Step into that. Because the people that I talk to on the phone all over the world were absolutely frightened to death. And the answer is faith and fear cannot live in the same house. So we need to choose which is it for me as a professional in this industry trying to grow back and do what we do. So I didn't mean to go on so long on that, but that was the personal side of it. Intercoiffure just loved that message. And I'm always here to talk to your clients or friends or whatever you would like me to do. So those are the things that brought me joy on the personal side. Sorry, I
Yeah,
went on so long.
no, that was amazing. You had me thinking, especially with the emotional side of things. You know, from an owner standpoint, when you walk in the four walls of your building, there's this to do and that to do and this to do and that to do. But I find that the most important days that I'm putting in here at Sullivan Beauty are those days, which who knows when they'll be back, of being out on the road with the customers, recognizing them, helping brainstorm with them, having fun coming up with creative solutions, and most importantly, thanking them and, you know, reinstating the fact that they are our livelihood. They are my ability to have a big, beautiful family and my ability to have a job that I love, and giving them true eye-to-eye contact thanks. I think those are the best days contributed. And again, I think when we go back to work, especially the owners or anybody who owns their business, frankly, anybody behind the chair, there's going to be a lot of things to think about. And almost like when I bypass the building to go out on the road and remember that those are the most important days, I think we have to maybe silence those voices of distraction and focus what's in our chair, so that that person can get that healing and that emotion. We know people remember one thing about businesses, and that is how they made them feel.
Yes, sir.
And right now we have the opportunity, in the face of a crazy amount of distractions, which they'll be fully aware of, your clients, to shut it all out, eye-to-eye contact with them, and let them know that they are what we're doing here behind the chair. And I think that that'll be a lasting feeling. And I think that there's probably not a chance in the world that you'll ever lose a client if they're getting that kind of feeling.
Good for you. And we don't, and you've seen that proven with our friends in the salon business. People that built a business and kept that business through, how they say, hell and high water. They've made it, and they've made it work. And I think that's important. You know, one thing I would love to know, I don't know if we have the opportunity for interaction a bit with your wonderful guests who are on there with you.
We do.
I would just love to know, up till now, on the personal side, before we go Joe Biz, I would love to know if we're going in a direction that is helpful for your viewers.
So guys, feel free to chat in to all people or to the panelists, whatever you prefer. But let us know how that strikes you. Let us know what your feelings are right now. Let us know if there's anything we can expound upon on that topic to, you know, speak more to what you're looking for, or to answer, or to help maybe add some perspective to any feelings or questions you might have.
Good for you. One thing I love about the Sullivan youth, Lauren included, is that they're so detail oriented. Tyler's been on the phone with me 3 times to make sure I did a good job. I know he's listening and cracking up, but he's not doing it because of that. He's doing it because this doesn't belong to the Sullivan Cox team. This belongs to your clients. So he and Kerry and Lauren want it to be perfect. Well, we know nothing is perfect, but we're doggone good. So it's very important. And if you get a question, Kerry, which I don't see, you can let me know. I'll be glad to answer it, or I'd be happy to go in a direction that suits. What I would love to do, now that we've started cooking this Sullivan recipe here, I would love to go on and talk a little bit about going back in the business. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's start with how Doug Cox always does. First of all, this is a golf ball. It's just a simple golf ball, but it says, in memory of C.B. Sullivan,
Oh, yeah.
this is a gift. And that is a part of what makes us do what we do. And what I wanted to start with when it begins to build our business again, returning to a business that is different, very different, is when was it that you, our viewers, who I adore, fell in love with this marvelous profession? When was it? And in seminars of 5 people, 5,000 people, which I've done for Paul Mitchell Friends and all that, what I think of is, when was it? And every hairdresser can say, oh my God, I used to comb my uncle's mustache. And I remember that feeling with the comb. I'd sit in his lap and or I cut my doll's hair off, or I saw. For Doug Cox, I was invited by a lady that started a beauty company many years ago, before many of you were born. She invited me to go to New York to meet a fellow whose name was Guillaume. And I went to New York with her, and I sat in a box in a fancy, fancy old theater. And as we sat there, I listened to this fellow speak, and he was a sculptor. He was a couturier, he was a dancer, he was a skater, and he was a hairdresser. And at the very end, this little man looked at everybody, and I know he looked right at me, and he said, true creation is a gift from heaven above. I never forgot that. It still gives me tears, and it still makes the hair on my arm go up. And I went, that's why this woman is so passionate. She had invited me there to see if I might catch the bug. And that was my day, the first time when I went, oh, this is something. And I can tell you time after time when I was at a seminar, whether I was with JP or Paul when he was with us, or Angus nowadays, and I remember sitting with them when something incredible happened. And I want you, our viewers, to think in your mind right now, when was that? Because that is the beginning of rebuilding your business with incredible Sullivan passion. And it's so important that we think. Question 2, what happened that made me think that? I remember being in a seminar, and a couple of marvelous Paul Mitchell people were on stage working, and I'm a rodeo cowboy. I'm sitting in the back of the auditorium waiting to go on with a cowboy hat on, leaning back against the wall, trying not to sit on my spurs. And out comes this beautiful, tall lady, and she's got a model with her. Understand, I'm a cowboy watching this. And when she came out, she said, I'm going to do today what's called a waterfall braid. And she braided this woman's, this model's hair, and it came out, and I went, how in the world can anybody do that? And then she said, now let's say that this charming lady would like to step out for the evening. She said, with this waterfall braid, you simply slip your fingers in here and press up. And as she did that, her hair turned into a crown. And I just sat in the back with tears in my eyes and went, good Lord in heaven, the Chadwicks got it going on. And I remember what happened that made me think I need to do a better job reaching out to my clients. I need to help salon owners and every stylist to do a better job of reaching out to our people. And it came to me suddenly that one day at Hard Rock, as you know, Kerry, I spent 7 years down there as an executive, and I was thrilled to be a part of it. Think of a salon that had 3,500 people at one time. And when Uncle Doug packed his bags and left 7 years later, we had 10,000 employees in the state of Florida. It was a very big deal. I was proud of that. They had invited me to help choose those people, but also to help train them to be. And I remember walking into a board meeting at Hard Rock, and the chairman, who was just on television the other day talking about what's happening, he said, well, We have all the vice presidents in the room. Mr. Cox, you always have something to say. What do you want to say? And I said, well, let's bring it down to something that is simple for us to remember. We walk back to our office. 1,000 people are waiting to complain. What are the 4 things? And Doug Cox said, time, space, money, and people. And if you will shepherd those 4 resources in your business, whether it is you behind your chair all alone, whether it is you in the midst of 20 people, whether you have a line of clients that are 6 feet apart with little red X's on the floor, on your beautiful salon floor, whatever it is, if we manage those 4 resources, we got it going on. You cannot fail. And when I got done, Mr. Allen, my friend, who's the chairman of Hard Rock International, said, I guess if we always wait long enough, Mr. Cox will stand up and speak. And he said, damn, if it isn't always worth it. But I discovered with my salon friends that these 4 things are incredibly important to us. The first is the word time. We say, well, how are you spending your time these days? Wrong phrase. We need to be investing our time. And the question is, how do I do that? Well, I need to read a bit more than I once did. Hopefully you've been doing that in your quarantine. We need to think a little more than we once did. Whatever is your nature, we need to pray a little more, not only for ourselves, but a prayer of thanks. If you're watching, you got a box to watch it on. I'm sitting at my desk on my little screen in Las Vegas, Nevada. One of my best brothers is right there, and his big brother is watching us to make sure we don't get off track. We're cooking. So invest your time. Don't be frightened, but be fearless in terms of how you invest your time. The second word that I mentioned is one that I brought to the great Kerry Sullivan, and he just loved the concept. And that was the word space. And we would talk about it, and the great sales team with Les and everybody else that I know and love so much, and Jeff and everybody there. Oh man, to get on stage, I always thought, why am I up here when I could be listening to them? Your sales team was always so great. But I realized one thing that we needed to bring to the attention of our salons, and today more than ever before, and that is space is a matter of square feet. And it always either costs or pays. So when you stand by your chair in that little space that you pay for each week or each month, you need to look at the floor around you, look at the walls around you, and ask yourself, how do I make this space pay instead of costing me? And CB and I even created little square feet that we took out to a seminar one time, and we had everybody get one in the audience and lay it on the floor, and you could see them going, you know, I never thought of that. The floor nearby, am I, if it's allowed, am I exposing the marvelous products that we offer, the services? How am I letting people know all of that? It's very important. And now, today, when we talk to each other, you've got the option of a direct ship. So space, how much space do you need? It's very important to think you now have a virtual inventory. So when you use your language, when you're speaking with a client, if you're in a salon with a group of other stylists and you're talking to one another, all of those moments are opportunities for us to make the space around us pay instead of costing. Business, we're talking. So time, invest it. Space. The third one that I mentioned was the word financial. Time, space, money, and people. And money is so important because of the way we think of it. So often today, people talk about, I'm so frightened, I don't have the money to do this or to do that. And there are people watching us right now that have less than they once ever had. Well, here's what I suggest. Bring up your courage, pull up your boots, and go out and find that income. That's what Sullivan Beauty has always done for people. Somebody said, well, yeah, well, you guys sell the product. Well, absolutely we do. But we also train you how to make that product move through our magic hands, the gift that we have to share with other people. And until we begin to think of money as a tool, it's never going to work for us. We will always work for that money. It takes courage to do these things. And Americans are not real good at it. I remember, Kerry, one time, I think you and I were riding in a car. Maybe it was Uncle Jeff was going down to Boston, and a radio disc jockey came on and said, now, ladies and gentlemen, at last, you can borrow enough money to get out of debt forever.
What a statement that is.
Is that great? And I was wishing that I had an extra pair of underwear in Jeff's beautiful BMW, because after that funny line, I needed it. And Americans think like that. We can borrow more, we can borrow more. There are times when to borrow money is the most intelligent thing you can possibly do. We are in one of those times now. Window is open. So where do we get the money? Who do we talk to? Those are things that you can find out as a businesswoman or a businessman, but the Sullivan team is always there to say, we got your back.
Yeah, you know, that's true. And honestly, speaking to our own scenario, we don't love to borrow money, but the government obviously, you know, funded a means of passing through government aid through the channels. You got to go through the channels, through the local bank and such. But these PPP loans is one of those opportunities. Was something that we said, you know what, when the lights were shut off on us, so to speak, we were in a good spot. Life was good. And it means the most to us and for our whole team to get right back to where that was when we turn the lights back on. And yeah, we took a loan. We took a PPP loan, and we're using it for what it's supposed to be used for. But it is kind of counterintuitive, I think, to think, you know, let's go borrow money to help out. But the reality is, as you put, if that's what you need right now, now's the time to do it or have done it. So, you know, that was definitely our experience. As far as some other ways to maximize money and to leverage some resources, you spoke to virtual inventory. I would love to just paint one example of how this virtual inventory concept can benefit every single person on this Zoom chat right now. Tools, blow dryers, flat irons. It costs a lot of money to keep them on your shelf, right? It costs whatever it costs, just under 100, just over 100, depending on the tool. The reality is you have a virtual inventory now, and utilizing our direct ship service, which is ultimately direct ship from us to your client, and you just handle charging the client, even at the salon, if they say, you know, I love that Neuro Light blow dryer you're using on me. I always love it. I think I might be in the market for one of those. Do you have one? It doesn't have to be on your shelf anymore for you to say yes. Yes. I do have one. I do have one, and I can have it at your door in a couple days. It costs this. It's got a 2-year warranty. You'll never have to send it back anywhere but to me if anything happened for it for 2 years. Does that sound like something I can count you in on? And if they say yes, you know, they're going to get it in the same time that they would get it from any shipping service. You don't have to necessarily stock it. You charge them right there. You go on to sullivanbeauty.com, you ring up a Neuro Light, and then at checkout, you press the direct ship button, and we'll send it to them. It's as simple as that. That's one example of how you now have a virtual inventory, which is that big warehouse that's attached to the body of this building with all that inventory in there. If you're a Paul Mitchell client, a Living Proof client, an Evo client, any of the brands that we sell, through our direct ship service, you now never have to say no to a sale because you don't have it on the shelf. And that's one way to generate some cash right now without maybe having to invest to get that cash. I mean, the reality is people right now are experiencing, in the case of a Neuro Light, I think it's maybe $180, maybe $150. They never even have to pay for the inventory. All you have to do now is charge for it. So I think that that is a good way to kind of leverage maybe some loaning, so to speak, and just take care of generating some revenue from it. And then the other way, I got to give props to Paul Mitchell on this, Doug. I don't know if you've heard their whole stimulus program to salons. They created a $4 million stimulus program to salons. And amongst the many aspects of it, each one of the customers that have been doing business with Paul Mitchell are going to get the opportunity to take a whack at one average month worth of purchases for the past 12 months. We know what they purchased average per month, and they're going to get the opportunity to purchase up to that amount of one average month of their history of purchases at either 30% off, 40% off, or 50% off, depending on the category of product. For instance, color is in one of those categories. It's under one of those discounts. Retail liquids is in, your hair care, your styling is in one of those categories. Tools is in one of those categories. But you want to talk about a margin boost right now? You can pass that through and still make 50% and sell your clients something at 30, 40, or 50% off. Or you could give them a discount of 10% and make an extra 20, 30, or 40. I mean, there's so many ways that you can spin this because your inventory is going to come in at you. And, news to come, you'll get the details from your Sullivan beauty consultant because they're all back to work. But Paul Mitchell's really, really very generously letting everybody take a whack at decreasing their supply costs and increasing their retail margins in the near future.
Well, that's a wonderful story. And haven't they always been right there with the stylist? Yeah.
That's exactly what I mean. They celebrate their 40th anniversary, their 40th birthday this year, independently owned. And as you know, Doug, in the beauty industry, 40 years independently owned is an absolute anomaly. And it's because of the way that they make the salespeople that work with the salons look like heroes, the way they make the salons feel like superstars, and all of those feelings. Nobody can ever forget that about John Paul Mitchell Systems.
Oh, and you said to all of us, it's how they made you feel. And that is the secret, and it's so wonderful. Well, I'm going to have a question for you shortly, but the 4 business tenets that I wanted to share with you were time, space, money, and the 4th one was people. We hear the conversation, that business is business. Well, we had to do this with this virus coming because business is business. You and I know, and I'm sure your dad coined the phrase, business is never business, it is always people. It is where we go, how we walk. It is who grabs our hand when there's a challenge. I remember once being on stage at a sales meeting, and I have no idea how in the world I'd gotten some kind of an infection in my sinuses. I got up out of bed up there in the townhouse, fell over against the wall. I had to speak at the meeting. I went down to the meeting, and there was your whole sales team, and I was standing on there trying hard not to fall off, and CB's wonderful secretary came to me and said, "Get in the car, you're going to the hospital." And I was in the hospital for 2 days. It's people that always help to make us feel that. And we need to look at the people that come to see us now, consider our feelings during this time, and know that those are multiplied because every family, every client that we have who waited patiently for us was not just waiting for you to whip out your shears and flip your comb. They were waiting for the content that comes from a true and professional style. Oh, it's just a big deal. It's such a big time. And, you got so many things going on now with your company. It's just wonderful. Kerry, I would love to have you at some point talk just a bit about the education that's available now. As Tyler mentioned yesterday, you have some stuff online, but I would love to know if there is a question from one of your viewers, or if the viewers just go, man, we're rocking, let it go.
Well, actually, speaking of people, Jenny Garby, owner of J. Bella Salon, says, honestly, just seeing your faces makes me a little teary. And honestly, Doug, this time with you and when you pulled out that cork, I
Yes.
almost started crying, okay? That is an amazing, that was transformative for me. She says, it's just nice to be in the presence of all the positivity and listening to the stories. I'm excited to get back to work. I'm a little anxious. Every time I sat in on some time with Doug, though, I always felt better and psyched to get back to the chair. So you want to talk about people, the positivity of somebody like you. I consider myself a positive person. Sometimes that's all people need right now, right? That sometimes it's all the clients are gonna need when they come in. Frankly, I'm sure they're gonna need a lot of it. They're probably gonna have every story in the book to tell their stylists right now, and they're just gonna be looking, I think, for positivity and faith.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
so Jenny remembers that about you.
Well, I love it, and I love her for taking the time to just let us know. It's important that we hear from people that we know and love and faces we remember, because we ain't done. We'll be together, you know, we ride together.
Yeah.
So go ahead, please. You go first.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I mean, the beauty industry, you know, you see those initial pictures from when Maine started last Friday, or when you see the pictures from when New Hampshire started, some New Hampshire salons and barbershops started on Monday, and you see the smiling faces. You can tell the eyes are smiling underneath the masks,
Yes.
right? All the professionals, the barbers, the stylists, they're taking selfies. They're happy to be back. You can see the clients smiling in the chair through the mask. Everybody's happy to be back, and I think that feeling is going to be so normal and such a breath of fresh air that we can just snap back to feeling that way at the salon or the barbershop from day one. That it's got me feeling like, you know what, if a mask is in the way of us, it's not going to do a thing to filter that connection, that communication, the way that you're going to make them feel, the way you're going to make them look. And I think that that's going to mean a speedy recovery of the beauty industry and the barber industry as a whole. Of course, we can't predict, you know, a reoccurrence or what the life cycle of the virus is and if there's another spike. But, you know, barring a lack of any respike or whatever, when I see these pictures of people back at the salons and barbershops, I'm very encouraged that this will be a distant memory sooner than we think.
Yes, well said. Do you know, one of the things that, do we have a little time? Are we good, or?
Oh yeah, we got 20 minutes.
Okay. One of the things that the great C.B. Sullivan said, and I hope that every person, I know these two young men know how much faith I put in C.B. and how kindly he put faith in me. One of the things that C.B. loved so much was, and remembered from a seminar long ago, was a little thing called a dream sheet. And I know as we grow, forget about age, but as we grow, we go along, we go, yeah, well, I'm over here now. And yet I've discovered in my life that the dream sheet has never been more important than it is today. And I was speaking in a marvelous beauty school. By the way, you got incredible beauty schools up in your territory. Oh man, I love going in there and talking to those students. Woo, doggy, because they give me hope for the future when I look in their faces. But I was in Utah, up near Salt Lake City, and I was doing a talk, and I was trying to think of something to share that was different and better, very Sullivan-like, right? Something a little intuitive. And all of a sudden, I had them do their dream sheets, and I said, why won't you follow me along on this? Instead of looking at your dream sheet like this, turn it like this and start at the top and write, my dream is. And then begin to fill in those things you most wish for, what Dorothy called my heart's desire, and fill them in, fill them in, fill them in. Oh, Stevie loved this so much. And the reason I had them do that, Kerry, was because I had them take out their smartphone, take a photograph of their dream sheet, edit it down, print it, cut it out. But I had them take the photo in their smartphone and leave their dream sheet on their screen. In a time when we're challenged, why wouldn't we want to look at the first thing we look at? My phone rang. What do I see? My dream. I got a text. What do I see? My dream. So it was a great idea. And students just loved it. And of course, all over the world, students have been, putting their dream sheet on there. And it's not about the credit. It's about, I'm thrilled that they do it because I still carry my dream sheet. And your dad loved that. He said, this worked. I've got mine. It's here. It was such an important thing. And the other thing that CB mentioned was when we all heard the challenges for the very first time, he said, I knew we were hearing something that would last forever. And it was so great that people who have called me said, would you mind just saying them in your voice real quick? I said, oh no, I'd be glad to do it. I didn't realize when, I'm sure the good Lord gave me these because I was never smart enough to write this down, but the letters of the challenges, when you looked at them, the first letter spelled out challenge is.
Come on.
Never thought of it. This is a long time ago now, but it was so important. So the letter C in the word challenges was commit your mind and body to achieving success. And the reason that I mentioned that is that I'd seen people at an insurance seminar who got so excited and then they all went to the bar and got drunk. So we're really going to make it. We're going to be rich. We're going to be, and then they fall off their bar stool. I thought, I don't think so. So commit your mind and body to achieving success. And then I started, I had prayed about this. I wanted a message that would last and that somebody like C.B. Sullivan one day would look at that and say, oh my goodness, that is really heaven sent. The letter H was have absolute faith in your ability to achieve your dreams. And then years later, I added at all costs because I met people that couldn't do it. So commit your mind and body to achieving success. And then have absolute faith in your ability to achieve your dreams. The letter A stands for always be a positive thought collector. You guys are fantastic at that. You come from a good source. C.B. Sullivan always had something positive to say. Every single time, whatever the condition or circumstances, he was there. And we need to train our salons to be as close to the front door as they're allowed when that client walks in with that positive thought collector attitude. I didn't say always be positive. My heart was broken when I heard about your dad's diagnosis. I got it. I understand. What I'm saying is a positive thought collector is putting money in the bank for those days when the coronavirus sneaks up on us. L, learn to use your mind filter. That's a simple one. But what it means is you don't build a wall of prejudice against people who don't look like you or think like you or a manufacturer that you don't sell. You don't build up a wall. You build up a filter that allows those things that build your life and your business to come through and prevents the dream pirates from getting on board and taking away those things you most hope for. Second letter L, very simply, is learn to give without expecting. Now, with what's going on in our world, I know people are walking back into their salon expecting what it once was, and it is never going to be that way again. Not a bad thing. We've come to a moment where we can say, I've always needed to change a bit, and I can do that here now. The letter N in the word challenge stands for never work for anyone but yourself. And what I loved about Sullivan Beauty was, you guys run it, you're the president, but the fact is, I was always allowed to be my own boss because I came up with better ideas. I fought harder at Valley Forge to make our country what it was. And all of those things come about because we accept the challenges. Never work for anyone but yourself. And yet, I've never worked for anyone who would not rehire me today. G, give others a reason to hear your story. Now, that's the most important thing here, because you will see clients who come to visit with you, and when they sit in that station for the very first time, they're going to tell you what they think you want to hear. That's a hard way for a business relationship. I'm not asking you to psychoanalyze anyone or mind anybody else's business. I'm just saying, we need to be awake, and when we speak to others, Kerry said it beautifully, we need to speak in a way that people say, I'd like to hear you speak again. And I have learned from your dad that if I listen in a way that causes people to want to tell me their story, I'm going to get the best, not only out of the moment, but out of life. The letter E stands for educate yourself by communicating with those who can teach you the most. And that is how your dad invited me to come to the C.B. Sullivan Company and be a participant, and allowed me on stage, which was one of the great honors of my life. The letter S, we've talked about already, spiritually awaken yourself to the powers of the universe. And all of those 10 challenges for me boil down to one thing. We've all been to a sales meeting. Every one of these wonderful clients listening today has been to a seminar, and if I was lucky, I was in the back watching Chadwick make a waterfall braid, or I was on stage myself teaching. Whatever it was, we've all been to a sales meeting. I make it a rule for me every day of my life to have a sales meeting with myself before I try to teach others. And it has worked so very, very well.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And you talked about the dream sheet, Doug. That changed everything for me. I'm a sales rep at C.B. Sullivan Company. Doug has stepped into my world in a big way, as a mentor, as a guiding light, as a surrogate caregiver while my dad was in California, which was really one of the things that you were heavily tasked with when CB found out that he had his first and then his second diagnosis of cancer. Was you were meant to be a surrogate caregiver, and you took that responsibility very seriously, and you enriched Tyler and I's life. Lauren, I think at the time, was living in Colorado with her now husband, having a very enriched life as well. But you brought us to Peels in the Midwest to see a beautifully run distributor organization and a beautifully run hair show where we got to sit into your seminar and see things. So, you brought us around the world. You brought us around the country. You brought us. You helped us experience amazing food, amazing stories, your rich history in multiple industries. And, Tyler, Lauren, and I will never forget that. Truly, we love you for that.
Well, I love you too. And it was my great honor, and it was a joy. And one thing I'd love to share with your team that everybody will understand is, by changing a few words, sometimes we change our world. And we changed the world of others. I was around a company where almost everybody there, a little older than you and your brother and your sis, and they would say, the boys. Well, what do you think the boys would handle that? What do you think the boys? And I kept looking at the two handsomest kids and the most beautiful daughter I've ever seen. And finally one day I just said, these are not boys. These are young lions. And the day that's recognized, you're going to see a whole new executive. And it's always been my young lions. I've always been so proud of you. So owners, salon owners out there, you're thinking of how you're going to bring people back. Tyler mentioned so wisely, and Kerry, that we need to build our team. Often it is a simple change of a phrase by thinking that helps to build our team, that we understand their value, their growth, where they're going. And I just never saw these as boys. I always saw them as young lions, which meant they could go as far. And here I am right now on camera with the president of Sullivan Beauty. Not bad. So I love you all so much. And if you have a question, I would answer it. If not, I don't want to go on. And I know your viewers need to get on to their business, but I love you people. I love you so much for what you do and the lives that you touch. I love the team at Sullivan Beauty, and I love the professional beauty industry. And every one of you listening is my hero.
And, you know, so Melinda McCusker says, clients are happy to be back, and I'm happy to be back. We're in the people business. She agrees wholeheartedly. She says it's about relationships we've built over the years. And, you know, that's really, we're in the people business. It's the same reason why I drive home from my salon visit days. And the level of fulfillment that I feel from having been in salons in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, now Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, it really fills up the tank. It really fills up the tank. And I think everybody, despite any concerns they might have about coming back, they should get ready for a very full tank. And I think a lot of them are pretty well aware that that's coming back, and they're going to, you know, feel amazing as a result of it. The dream sheet, the thing that changed my world about the dream sheet was, you know, the way that Doug explained it to me that really stuck with me forever is proximity to information will make this information happen. What does that mean? That means if you take information like your dreams and you put them on a dream sheet and you create one body of the dreams that are the most important to you, and you put it on a piece of paper even, and keep the proximity to your body very close. For me, it was in my wallet, on me at all times. For my dad, in his wallet, on him at all times. Just being close to those dreams, putting it on your screen of your phone. I love that. There's never been a better time either for that dream sheet. You know, Doug, you talked about we have the opportunity to change things. Our website business for Sullivan Beauty, we've had a website that we've been very proud of for 3-4 years maybe. Now, that website is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to free up customers' time. It's supposed to make shopping easy. It's supposed to allow you to do shopping on your own terms. Maybe that's not what you want to do at the salon. Maybe that's not what you want to do with your Sullivan Beauty consultant. Maybe you just want to sit down your Sullivan Beauty consultant and say, I've got this interesting new challenge. Do you have any creative ideas? What a great way to use time, and you could place your order that night. So our website has changed, and our business has changed as a result of this. And we've been in on the back end of the website, improving it more so in the last month than we have in the previous 4 years. Now's the time to tackle change, to be fearless, as you said, Doug, and to maybe fill out that dream sheet with the things that you may or may not expect to happen in the near future. And just that proximity to that information in your wallet, on your iPhone screen, will show you that those dreams are coming at you faster than you might expect right now.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad you remember that close proximity. That is correct. And people say, you know, well, I can remember that's not the point. Point is, you make a business plan, you set it down on paper, which I do, and still on my phone now. I'm growing up, but it's a lot of fun. And it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful to be able to chat with all of you and, you know, understand. We need to understand the limitations of what it is we're trying to do sometimes, You know, Walmart has decided out here that everybody that comes to Walmart's going to need to wear a mask. They can't even get people to wear their pants. So I think we're okay if we understand what humanity's ready for and what they're not. And before you close me out here and shut the screen down and go, okay, Uncle Doug, you're done. I want you to know that these young lions and lioness, Tyler and Kerry and Lauren, coached me on what they would love to hear. And so what you're hearing is the wisdom of a rather elderly cowboy who still rides pretty good. But the point of us being together and forming a team is what makes it. And this is for you, Kerry. This is Zinfandel.
Beautiful.
And it's pretty neat. It's a nice one. This is the road to Cali. The Turner Classic Movies has a new wine club. And I've always wanted to support them, but I don't want to go to a backstage party. We've been to those, haven't we? So I wanted to do something that I could help support them. And when you buy wine from them, it's great. They send you a case every 6 weeks or whatever, and I can never get through it, so I give it away. But I love that. And every time that case reminds me of our evening together in Hooksett with wings and rice and Zinfandel.
So good. Great memories on the porch as well, up at the lake, on the deck.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. Well, Doug, this, you talked about our remote education. Of course, education has changed entirely, hasn't it?
Yep.
But this has been a real highlight for our series that we call Sullivan Beauty Presents. For me, it's been a personal highlight. I miss you. It's great to talk to you, and you make me feel the same way you used to. And I'm sure Tyler and Lauren are saying they're probably nodding right now. I know Lauren is. And I know Tyler's probably typing. We'll see something in a second. But it's amazing to have you, and it's been a real highlight, and I think it'll be a real highlight. I think it's been a real highlight for everybody on today as well. Let's plan for whenever face-to-face or personal, in-person education comes back. Can we have you come here and we will sit right here and you'll be up there?
It will be my great honor. As
Good.
long as we can visit some salons together, because that's what I love best.
No question about it. And you know what? The attendees on this Zoom call, you're first in line for us to visit. How's that sound?
Oh, I love that. That's the way to do it.
Absolutely. Tyler says the wisdom of Uncle Doug is very much appreciated. 2 pages of notes he took. Thank you so much, he says.
My pleasure. I love you all very much, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been really, really food for the soul today to be speaking with you.
To be continued.
That sounds like a plan. That sounds like a plan. Well, guys, thank you for joining us. We hope your reopening is smooth, positive, filled with silver linings, and filled with dreams. And you have a great, great time with those clients and give them a great time too, right, Doug?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So until next time, my friend, aloha.
Aloha indeed.
All right. We love you.
Thank
Bye,
you, my
everybody.
friend. Best so long. Aloha.
Aloha. Till next time. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you on the next Sullivan Beauty Presents.